Peace, blessings, and elevation. We will bring you inspiring stories, expert insight, and practical tools and information to support you. Types in embracing our authentic selves, we can pave the way for a brighter future for ourselves and our children. Power, heal, and support fathers and men on their journey. I'm your host, Kelly Little, aka the Village King. Welcome to the Father's Haven. Peace, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Father's Haven, a podcast for fathers by fathers. Today, in this space, we lifting up fatherhood, healing, and personal growth. So we need you to come together with us. I'm your host, Kelly Little, and I got my man, Big Frank, in the building. Frank, tell them a little bit about yourself, brother.
What up? Yeah, man. Hey, my name is Franky Bells. You heard? I'm a man that's been saved by grace for real, man. Like, I lived a life wasn't proud of. God graced me to be able to live some more. You heard? In my years of living, I've encountered a lot of mistakes. Right, I've done a lot of things that affected other parts of my life. Right, such as my children, relationships, right, family members, like just all bad. So it was seen. And after a while, when you start doing a lot of bad, you just see yourself as what you do, right? And I've learned I'm not my mistakes. You feel me? So I've come to the conclusion that I'm more than what it is that I've done. And here we are today, man. I created I've been on my healing journey, man, and I tapped in with who it was that I never knew I could be, right? A lot of times when you're going through it, you don't really see the end result. But I'm learning better is the end of a thing than the beginning. Like sometimes you gotta allow yourself to hurt. You gotta allow yourself to go through the worst, feel it, and just let myself just deal with a lot of things for a season. And here I am, man. That's how I attest to the grace of God, because I ain't seen myself getting through it. Here I am. It's your boy, Bells.
So y'all heard it. And see, he being modest. So tonight our special guest is Frank. Frank's a believer, a father, a friend, an author, a boxing trainer, a former boxer.
Yeah.
So you got New York and Philly in the building.
You did. And we do it right. You heard? Let's go. Let's go.
But beyond all that, Frank gonna talk about how boxing has shaped his life, his mindset, his approach to fatherhood.
Yeah.
He's more than just resilient. He's resilience with restoration. He's gonna talk about his journey as an author and the message behind the work. You heard?
Let's do it.
It's important to hear the man behind the story.
Yeah.
And so, Frank, let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
First question. Let's talk about your fatherhood journey. We know that every father has a story.
Yeah.
Can you take us back to the beginning of yours and what has shaped you into the father you are today?
Yes, sir. So, growing up, man, I was part of the gang culture, right? A lot of people shame the gang culture, but it was a gang culture that taught me discipline. It was a gang culture that taught me a lot of just principles, morals, loyalty, right? There's a saying that eat the meat, spit the bones out, right? And so there's a lot of principles that I've learned doing a lot of wrong things, right? And so it started there at the gang culture. 5 years old, I'm in foster care. 5 to 10, I'm in all different types of foster care. 10 to 12, I'm in a group home. 12 to 16, I was with a foster family that adopted me at 16, right? So you got a man from 5 to 16 not really knowing how his life is going to be, right? And then at 17, my family left me. So I'm stranded. I'm homeless for a year, 17 to 18, and so you sort of learn to you get down to lay down, right? So I had to go through it. Like there's a lot of things I had to learn by consequence, and I'm a big believer that if you don't, you'll either learn by instructions or you learn by consequence. And I got tired of learning by consequence. You feel me? And so, boom, when it comes to my fatherhood journey, mind you, I became a father at 20. You feel me? I just got really on my feet at like 18. You know what I mean? Like, so my mind isn't really fully developed. It's still traumatized. It's still all the things, right? And so, um, I started off all bad. I didn't have no guidance, no rules, no, you feel me? I had nobody to teach me the game. And so, coming out like that, you sort of become you're trajected to be the statistic, right? Black man, having having kids with, different women, and you fall into that so much so that you start to believe that yourself. You find your identity in that, and that's really where it started. It started in a place of pain, a place of hurt, and to which I didn't really learn that till later on. I just felt like I was being a man. You heard I'm sowing my seed. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we started. And moving forward, man, what changed? So a lot of things that I was into, I didn't want to fall on my children. I understood retaliation. I understood you reap what you sow, right? And so um, I wanted it to end with me, whatever that looked like, right? There were those responsibilities, and boom, moving forward, in order to start something has to stop. And the things that I stopped, those are the things that I found my identity in. Those are the things that I projected my identity was, right? And so when you stop doing the things that you identify with, now people don't know how to take you. You feel me? So now they'll try to give you an identity or use a sucker because you used to do this, da da da. Now you need to be doing blah blah. And so, weak-minded individual, they'll just go with whomever is saying whatever. And so I was stubborn. The only thing that saved me from not just following the crowd was my stubbornness, for real. If I keep it a bean. And so my stubbornness that didn't work for me while I was doing wrong actually is holding me down while I'm doing right. Right. Because all stubbornness is really just not moving. Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you stubborn and I don't move, that means if I make up my mind on something, then I'm just not gonna do it, or I am gonna do it. Stubborn. Stubborn can look stupid, right? But when it's healed, when stubbornness is healed and it's in the right atmosphere, stubbornness looks like commitment. Stubbornness looks like uh whole, healthy, stable. You feel me? So it just depends on the environment.
So I love how you answered that. And when we really look at the etymology of words, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I will fall back on is that for every word we use that's negative, there's
Mm-hmm.
a bizarro for those of us know the story of Superman,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a uh, exact opposite, which is really the same for something. For instance, there is no day without night because
Mm-hmm.
the light will not be magnified because the dark illuminates it, right?
Right.
Same way with when we think good and bad. They're the opposites of each other, but when you really dig down deep, they just the perfect complement to each other.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you.
So those struggles that you spoke about is the very thing that brought you into the space of your success because it wasn't really stubbornness, it was consistency. You just had to learn to manipulate or mold it into what you needed for your children, for yourself. And so you was exploring who you was, right?
Right, right. And
So from that,
That's good, partner. I don't want to cut you off, gang, but that's where we get lost at because while J. Cole said I was he said one of his verses was like I'm I was something we're headed in the wrong direction. But he was basically talking about how he was traveling, he was going far, he was doing a lot of things, he was just going the wrong way, right? And so when we literally is finding ourselves, we get lost in trying to define and trying to find ourselves, right? And so wherever we end up, right, that's the place, that's where we set up shop, that's where we identify as, right? So if boom, for instance, I get hurt by a lady, boom, I explore the place of I don't want to be hurt anymore, so I seek comfort. Comfort could look like porn. Comfort could look like another woman. You feel me? Like, but that's where I stop. And so my identity becomes this place of it's rooted in hurt, but now it just looks like porn and different women and you feel me? Like this, that's the surface issue. You know, so that's good, bro. That you touching on that for real.
Look, we're gonna go deeper too because
Let's do it.
when we look at the influence of your own space that you're cemented and rooted in now,
Hmm.
who would you consider the superheroes of fatherhood in terms of being able to help you continue to grow and develop into the father and man that you are today?
Man. So community, right? It's I wasn't around a lot of uh, fathers, you could say, but they fathered me, right? And so what's crazy is these people was probably horrible fathers to their children, but when you are in that place of restoration, a lot of people don't receive you, right? And so now you stuck with all this game, right? And so what a lot of the OGs do is they give you the game, right? And so that's where the eat the meat, spit the bones out, right? Take what applies to you and just discard what doesn't. And so how I've learned is I don't gotta live buddy life, but I could definitely take the principle of what he's learned from his life, right? From his lifestyle, from his story, and apply it to mine to make mine better. So I don't gotta be stuck in my restoration, although they don't receive me, I don't have to be stuck as an outcast, right? Now I just need to find my community. You feel me? And so, yeah, it was a lot of my examples came from people who weren't doing the right things that I've taken the thing like they have good hearts. They wanted to do well. They didn't get the opportunity to do well. They didn't press further to do well, right? And a lot of times we just write them off. But I've taken that, and we got to be careful, right, as to who it is we write off, because oftentimes we'll fall into that same place, that same boat, right? We all have ups and downs, and so however way our valley looks, we got to be careful as to who valley we judging, because we all have our own valley, right? And so I learned that as a pup, and so um, yeah, man, just looking around, seeing what they wasn't doing, seeing what they was willing to do with their community. You sort of take those Jews, and that becomes who you are, right? And so that's really where it started for me.
But
Unfortunately, right?
nah, but I know we say unfortunately, but really it's fortunately because
Right,
what you experience, right? Let me back up a second. What I tell people all the time, our past doesn't define who we are.
right.
It's just the accelerator to propel us into our parallel universe or our destiny or ordained purpose in this universe. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Um, so as I'm listening to you, the first thing I'm saying, like, and you don't even know my four quadrants for what I call fatherhood, right? So you got
Right.
the spiritual father
Mm-hmm.
who advises, guides, and so forth. Then you have the adoptive father, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have two kids. Your
Mm-hmm.
two kids' friends will then become your adoptive children because by virtue of them being in proximity of your children,
Mm-hmm.
you make sure you take ownership of them. And then, so I say spiritual adopt, and then you said something, community, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
how you developed and who you are. So what we know is, from a therapeutic standpoint, healing happens in community. So
Right.
you have that community father, which are like, for me, it was some of the cats that was on the block. It was different people who
Right. Right. Right.
added value to my intellect, to my support system, natural supports, as they like to call them in communities. And more importantly, they were the same people who always had my back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
then there's biological fathers, and not all of us may have had that,
Right.
which is how some of us, they would say, overcompensate as fathers, but really everything you just shared is why I father the way I do.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right. Right.
And so it's power in that.
That's good.
And, and that leads me to my, my next question, right, Frank?
Yes,
Knowing
sir.
that you box, and then boxing is as much of a mental sport and battle as it
Mm-hmm.
is a physical one. So
Mm-hmm.
how has your time in the boxing ring influenced your approach to fatherhood?
Man, um, you take the good with the bad. Every dog has his day, right? And so, um, people oftentimes try to, not a boxer understands, but people outside the ring often rag fighters when they lose, right? But we don't lose, we only learn, right? Because we learn what to do, we learn what not to do, right? And so, how that compares as a father, I don't think there's a manual, gang, for to be a parent. Like you try to be the best version of, or a better version of what you didn't have. You try to mimic some of the great qualities of those that you did have, and then you try to sprinkle something new that your child would require, right? Because we're in the new age, new era, right? And so, a good parent would try to uh, not aggravate the child, but try to find some place of commonality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, man. So with boxing, it helped me understand that, uh, although it hurts, it still works for me. When we work out, it hurt. You feel me? Like, but it works for me. It looked good on me, right? So healing looks good on us, right? However, we can't ever encounter healing without being hurt. You feel me? So hurt will look good on us, right? Is this really about, like you said, like good and bad and night and day? Like these are one and the same when you break it down to the root of it, because it's not happening to me, it's happening for me, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's all of these things is principle based. I think it's important for us as fathers to understand the principle. Um, Wisdom is a principle thing. This is scripture, right? Wisdom is a principle thing, and all that get understanding, right? And so if we don't understand what we're doing, why we doing, from a father to friend to whatever it is that we're doing, we'll get lost. And if we get lost, you'll need community to sort of help reel you in. Hey, I've been there, gang. You ain't been where I'm at. I've been where you at. Let me help you, right? And so that allows you to exercise grace, right? Because we've all fallen, we've all been hurt, we've all been down, So we could break that thing open for real, gang, for real, for real. Because there's so many
See,
ways, man. And let me correct you, right? I got a total of eight children, right?
okay,
Um, Seven biologically, and no, I'm lying. I got six biologically, and two. You feel me? Through my marriage, but
okay,
of course we don't call them,
that's
bonus or
right.
step, none of that, right? They my kids, you heard? But I just wanted to put that out there in case whoever sees this, right? I ain't denying mine, you heard?
That's what I'm talking
Let's do
about.
that.
So now that you go there, right,
Yeah.
and you mentioned healing three times,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get to what your business is in a
Yes, sir.
few, but being that you are a strong advocate for healing, What was the moment in your life when you realized healing was necessary for you as a man and as a father?
Uh, so many moments, man. But I'll say this: sin makes you stupid, right? I'm an advocate that sin makes you stupid, and the more you sin, the more stupid you become. And so, when you stupid or you don't really see, hold on, guys. You all right? Okay. Yeah. So the more that we sin, uh, the more our mind is shaped to whatever it is that we've done, right? And typically, um, what we do is directly correlated to the trauma that we experience, right? And so as a man thinking, so is he. Boom. So I got hurt. So now my thought is I'll never be hurt again. So I'm gonna do something to avoid hurt. And that's not really how you grow, right? You gotta go through it to grow through it, right? And so if I'm to grow, then I have to hurt. I can't avoid being hurt. Now it's how I'm gonna hurt that I don't know, but you learn that in the journey. And so, um, what brought me to this place of, hey, this is it. Um, I was suicidal. I didn't want to live no more. Uh, had plenty of things to live for, but it was too much. It felt like too much in the moment, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
sin makes you stupid, right? Because now sin will have you forget it all, risk it all for this one moment. And so I've taken on a mantra. It's always a good day to have a good day, right? Because I'm built for it. I've been through so much. Like whenever would suicide be an option? You feel me? Like so, it's to speak to how easy it is for anybody to fall into this place of hopelessness. You feel me? And so, hopelessness is really the root of a lot of issues, right? And so that's where healing was introduced, because healing hurts, and so but so does love, right? I've heard a lot of days. I prayed a lot of days, hoping that situations would change for the people, my children, the loved ones, and I was willing to go through that for something that I love. I was willing to hurt for something that I loved, and why would I not be willing to hurt to heal, to be better for the people that I love? So that's where it
I,
started
I,
for me.
I love that. So, what I want you to do for me, though, Frank,
Yes,
is
sir.
I want you to slide either to the right or left so that they can see you already won.
You
And
heard?
obviously, that's you right there. So, talk to the viewers a little bit about you already won.
Yeah, man. So you already won is really, it's a 30-day guide to healing, right? And it's addressing the surface issues, anger, frustration, depression, right? The light stuff, but also walking you through the steps to dig deeper, right? It doesn't just stop at anger, frustration. Those are feelings. Feelings are fleeting, right? As my pastor would say, feelings are fleeting. They're fickle, right? They're here today, going tomorrow. And so we gotta deal with the cause of the feeling. Why do I feel this way? Why do I think like this? Why do I do this? Right? I didn't know how to fight. So boxing is it becomes a disciplined sport when you learn to develop the skill, right? Boxing isn't no good if you could just shoot them, right? Anybody can shoot them, right? But now, are you learning? Boom! If I do this, then that leaves this open. That leaves this open. All right. So what do I got to do to make sure you feel me? Like how do I guard the spot? So it forces you to consider strategy, right? And so if I'm to heal, there has to be a strategy here. How did I get here? Let's talk about what happened. I never used to be like this, right? And so a lot of times we don't want to deal with certain things, right? Because it's easier to just not consider it or not think about it, or this is where we find our coping mechanisms, right? We drink, we smoke, we sex, we do anything to avoid dealing with the thing, right? And so, in our own right, we become cowards and how we run from things, right? And so, coward is like certain in healing. There's a lot of terms that's no good. It's gonna try you, right? As a man, connecting the term coward with anything, it'll have you take a step back. I ain't no coward, right? But let's consider it. Like, so physically, you'll probably never run from nothing. But mentally, emotionally, right? Psychologically, have you dealt with everything that you felt? Have you dug deep into the things that really cause the things? And a lot of times we don't know how to, right? And so it took me to really like just sit down and really deal with me to get to this place. Like, I'm jacked up, man. I need help. Help me. And so yeah, I just walk you through the steps that eventually allow me to get to my freedom.
Here's what I love about that. This wasn't you against anybody else. It was you against you.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? That's our only battle in this world.
Yeah.
So as a man and as a father, I had to go within to determine who I want to be and who I'm going to be.
Right.
And the moment, as you said earlier, I allow what other people say to guide my steps,
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer operating as a man. And I definitely can't operate as a father because how can I guide when I'm always following somebody else?
That's good.
It's a time to follow,
Yeah.
but that's not the time. But
And
see,
it's
now
a time to leave.
you got me in my bag now.
Let's
So
cook. Let's cook.
now I seen you throwing the ingredients of scripture into the conversation.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about F2,
Yes, sir.
faith and fatherhood,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
I know you proudly carry the title of believer.
Yes, sir.
So, with that being said, how has your faith guided your journey as a father and as a mentor to your children and to others, especially considering that you're a trainer?
Yeah. So, uh, before before my faith was uh, strong, I was a coward in a lot of areas that I didn't realize I was being a coward in, right? And uh, to some people, that might, you know, to me, I'm just taking the time. I'm just dealing with it. I'm just, we all need a time and a space to deal with whatever. And my time and my spaces to deal with things, it seems to be extended, right? So I was giving myself too much grace to deal with something. In all actuality, I was just running from it, right? I was trying to give room, a little bit of room here, so I didn't have to deal with it fully, and then I move on to the next thing. And I deal with that fully, and then I just have a lot of incomplete things. And then when I'm met with all the incomplete things, right? Because you reap what you sow, right? Now I'm just like I'm upset that you're trying to hold me accountable to the things that I've you feel me? I haven't fully committed to myself. And so it took me a while to come to it takes a long time to come to a place where you can uh you're able to correct yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to criticize yourself without being offended with yourself, right? And so oftentimes I would say things about me and wear the identity of that. I ain't no coward. And now I got to prove to myself that I'm not a coward by doing something foolish, right? And so that's not healthy. But as men, I feel like that's what we do a lot because we take on either the environment that we're around or the atmosphere of our mind. And really what the atmosphere of our mind was at one point in time, our atmosphere, right? That we've just taken everywhere that we've gone. And so now that's just that's the atmosphere of our mind. And so healing had to take place. I needed a full healing. And so where faith came in, once I started committing the scriptures, once I really started to understand the etymology of what the scripture meant, right? Okay, so if I really believe, if I have faith, if I trust God, scripture says if I trust in the Lord with all your heart, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, in all your ways acknowledge him and he'll direct you. If I'm acknowledging God in all of my ways and he's directing me, knowing the steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord, how then is the steps that God is directing me draw me away from what I'm the steward over, which is my children, right? So my faith allowed me to be a better example, right? In essence. And so what they'll look at it as is, oh, you acting different. You changed a lot. Yeah, a lot's changed. So, my heart is being transformed inside of my body. I don't know how to explain it. I don't have words for this transition. I just know now what not to do. You feel me? And so you got to walk through that shame. You got to walk through that guilt because they're going to try to call you the things that you were, right? And so it's your job to speak those things that be not, right? Call your future to your present. Come here, man of God. Come here, super father. Come here, wealthy man. Come here, man with generational knowledge and wisdom. Come here, great steward. Come here, right? Like you got to call the things that you weren't before because you had nobody pouring that into you. You now got to see yourself as that and then call yourself who you are, who you see yourself as, right? You'll see what you say. And so now this was my journey. And for a while I'm just bugging because it's like, oh well, that wasn't me. You feel me? And it's like, I know it's not me, it's God for real. Right. And so God is trying to show me, hey, this is how you is, right? This is how you are to be. This is how I see you. Right. You're not your mistakes. Well, okay. So there's grace. Okay. So I'm not what I've done. Okay. So how many of us are not our mistakes? How many of us are living under our mistakes? My whole community is living under their mistakes. There's nobody else telling them different. Everybody got to ride. Everybody got to, you feel me? Go grab that pack. Go flip that pack for your family. That's all. That's the only. These are the only options. This is the only options for us. That's what you're saying? Nah. And so you come to the place where I'm gonna follow. Right? There's a time to follow. I'm gonna lead. Right? Sometimes when you lead, you just go to the place where God tells you to go. Now, got to make sense to
Okay.
you. You feel me? You just do it because it's outside of your body. It's outside of your nature. You're not used to doing right. You're not used to doing nothing that was good, right? If God is trying to lead us into something new, and we're used to old things, we're not going to see new as something good. We never had it before. As the Bible says
Mm-hmm.
that we call good evil and evil good. We call good evil because we're accustomed. We've called the evil that we've done good for so long. If God says no, this is good, it's like that ain't good to me, right? And so now we got to change our standard because if this is what was good to me or this is what I was on and now you telling me to do this, I ain't never did that before. And a lot of us reject that because we never done it. So now for
Mm-hmm.
fear of failing, for fear of looking stupid, I'm not gonna do none of that. And so who are you? Are you willing to risk your life for your children? And if so, how does that look? So that's what that stubbornness that I said. So the same mentality that I could use, hey, I'm hungry, you got it, I ain't got it, boom. I need that. Is the same mentality I say, hey, if I keep on this way, I'm gonna be someplace that they can't see me. Some gotta get it. Right. And so you find reasons from that point, you find reasons to change. You find reasons to be better. You find reasons to be different. right? You see yourself as who you was before, not something you want to be anymore. And then once you see that you are capable of being different, you keep going that road of being different, being changed, being better. And then you're being better, then you're better. How much better can I become? Now that's the goal. How much better can I become? Way better. Keep going. You feel me? And so
Look,
that's where we at.
so I love where you're going. And you really so in faith, there's a submittal to something greater than ourselves.
Yes, sir.
And in submitting, that's always going to speak to like vulnerability, right?
Yes, sir.
And so when I think vulnerability, when I think strength,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about this earlier, the two may seem different,
Right.
but many men are raised to believe that strength means silence.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the balance between strength and vulnerability, especially when we think about this word that we call fatherhood,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, how
Keep cooking. You
vulnerable,
cooking, go. Keep
how
cooking.
vulnerable, how
Yeah.
vulnerable are we, and how vulnerable are we willing to be? Because sometimes, as men, what we're taught to do is put on this facade of masculinity,
Yeah.
and then like you got 8 kids,
Yes, sir.
you got boys and girls,
Yes, sir.
and so our boys fall down, we gonna pick them up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man up, get up. Our daughters fall. Hey, look, we growing down, they grab them girls
Yeah.
quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they just as tough as our boys.
Right. If not
And,
tougher, for real.
exactly. And so I guess I say that, you know, I know me, the young me, rolling through the streets of North Philly,
Okay.
there was not any sense of like letting myself be vulnerable and embracing um the strength of submitting, the strength of tapping into my feminine energy. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean feminine in terms of being weak, but I mean feminine in the sense of the receiving principle as we
Mm-hmm.
look at universal practices from scripture. Like
Mm-hmm.
we 100% masculine, 100% feminine.
Balance.
Look,
Yeah.
it was times when I had to sip tea with my daughter, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or or I'm sitting at a instead of an AAU or a basketball tournament,
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a dance competition
Right.
and I'm good.
Yeah.
That's where I knew like manhood shifted to a completely different space to me.
Yeah.
So Frank, talk a little bit about that vulnerability component for me
Man.
in
I'm a
fatherhood.
I'm a girl dad, you heard? I got 5 girls, you heard? 3 boys. So uh that's what shifted me, right? Um when I was younger, I was willing to crash out. Now that I'm older, I'm more willing to cry out, right? And so when I was younger, you touch mine, you feel me? I'm on that. Now I know you're not gonna touch mine because I've already cried out for them. I've already been on my face for them. I've already prayed for them, right? So I believe daughters allows us to see how broken we really are, how strong we really are, um, and how much stronger and how much broken we are willing to be, right? So, man, I'm known as a crier, right? But I could do damage. I'd rather cry. I'd rather show you my tears than to show you you feel me, what I'm capable of, right? Like I've never subscribed to the theory to be Superman, right? I think uh, there's a term, all heroes must die, right? And so I don't want to be the guy who plays a superhero that has to die. I want to be the guy that is willing to live for the sake of extending my family's legacy or my family's lineage for the sake of being wise, right? And so, yeah, man, wisdom is considered feminine, right? So when we consider just the wide scope of things, um, I've never really seen a, a machoism or masculinity about me as I grew older, right? I was more willing to submit that to this vulnerable, you know, my wife calls me a Pop Tart. You feel me? I'm hard on the outside, but it's mushy on the inside because I love who I love, man. And, it's, I'm, I'm given what I've been given. And so with God giving me the ability to love after being hurt by life, now putting a daughter in my hands, I can't give them hurt because I've been hurt, right? I got to learn to love. And so they teach me how to love by how vulnerable I'm able to be with them, right? And so if you could do it in one area, you could do it in all areas. So what other areas? That's these little girls really catapulted me on my road to healing for real. Because I didn't know how broken I was until I'm holding them, just crying for no reason. I have no reason. I'm happy, but I'm hurt. I never want them to experience what I experienced. How do I protect that? Can I protect that? You know what I mean? Like so, it provides a space of I don't know what to do. I need somebody to do something. Which you allow God into that place of vulnerability if you don't have community, right? And when you do have community, boom! Now after you release that, sometimes we gotta get low before we go up. And now you go to the community, and the brothers they hey get on my shoulder, I got you. You feel me? They hold up our arms, they hold up our legs, they hold us up, they lift us up, to be or feel like the man that we might not feel in a lot of spaces, right? And sometimes that's all we need to feel like that. And once we feel like that, it's off to the races, right? Sometimes that's all we need, just a little picker upper. But yeah, man, this vulnerability it started with my daughters, man, and then it changed how I seen everything because I was a womanizer, right? Because I was hurt, right? Let's talk about that. And being a womanizer, there's nothing wrong as long as you good, right? Like so it happens until it happens to you, and now it's like, why? How could you do this? Why would you do this to me? You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to tap into this femininity, and then this anger because I want to be emotionally unstable, and now I want to deal with the frustration and the anger, but that's the surface, right? Is the reason you're not the cause of what I feel right now. You attribute it to it in the moment, right? But there's
Right.
something deeper than that. And so we don't consider that enough. And so I'm trying to shed light to that via boxing, via, the book. Um, let's just have the conversation because it's worth the conversation. We could probably save us ourselves from going to prison, from being under the ground, right? We could save ourselves a lot of heartache if we could have the conversation. And we don't want to talk, you know.
Man, man. So look, you done went from vulnerability. And so we know that some of the mechanism for healing is outside our mouth gates, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
what we purge from our body,
Mm-hmm.
but then also you just talked about the book, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as an author now,
Mm-hmm.
what inspired you to put your thoughts into writing? And what message do you hope to leave behind for fathers and men navigating their own journey in life?
My wife. Let's start there. Big shout out to my wife, beloved. She 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 believes I could do things I never see myself even doing. And so that's what sort of allowed me to put it in writing because I'm more of a, pull up on me. Let's chop it up. Like I'm more about building community. Like let me lock arms with you, right? Feel what it is that I'm feeling because I know how that feeling is of hopelessness, and I want to become to you what I never had, right? Sometimes you can't
Mm-hmm.
get that via a conversation. Like pull up on me. So I'm that guy, and so I would never consider to put it on into a book at all. Like it was, I don't know why. It just never was my thought. And so we for this last month, I've been just praying with the family, having Bible study, and yeah, that was just one of the things that popped up. And Quiet as Cat Gang, I did this. I did all this book in 10 days. You feel me? Like,
Wow.
yeah, man. So you never know what you're capable of. Like you don't know what for me to not never have ever done this before and to do it in 10 days is like, God, what you doing? Like, what is you doing? And then, it just opens up your mind to so many other things, man. So yeah, man, I thank God for the woman of God in my life, um, to push me to see myself in ways I've never had.
Look, you just said something that's powerful because a man buys a house, a woman makes it a home.
Yeah,
A man provides, a woman creates and
yeah,
gives vision.
yeah,
And so as I'm listening to you talk, I'm just inspired, one, to see you lift your woman up the
yeah,
way you do, right?
yeah.
And then the second piece of that for me is, right, the same way that we are charged with affirming our children's greatness. Because if we go back to Jacob
Hmm. Talk
in
to
the
me.
Bible,
Yeah,
we give the birthright.
right.
But the truth is, women are always pouring into us, speaking our power into existence
Yeah,
when you have the right woman.
right.
So when I think of that, all I think about is breaking generational cycles
Yes, sir.
and trauma.
Yes, sir.
So many fathers work to break those cycles of trauma, neglect, hardship, right? But
Hmm.
what cycles have you been intentional about breaking for your children? I won't even say break. We don't want to break them.
Hmm.
What I see you doing, because I know your drive, I know your commitment, is transforming the
Hmm.
trauma into generational blessings and healing.
Yeah, yeah. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm glad we're going down this road, man, because um, my my fear was that they'll live how I live, or they'll encounter something that I've encountered and
Mm-hmm.
not be graced for it, right? And so, for so long, for years in the beginning, I'm praying, crying, God don't let them, God don't let them, God don't let them. And so there's a scripture that says, um, two scriptures. So one, wherever the word of the king is, there will be power. That's Ecclesiastes. There's another scripture that says we could decree a thing and it'll be established, right? So we're backed by the word of the king, right? Wherever the word of the king is, there'll be power. That's the word of God. And we could decree a thing, we could declare something, and it will happen. And so I'm asking God to do something that all I have to do is declare, right? And so my prayers went from asking God, hey, blah, 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 can you, to God, do, blah, blah. I declare and decree, boom, right? And so now, as I'm declaring and decreeing certain things, I'm starting to see certain things happen. And so now I'm understanding scripture. Okay, death and life is in the power of the tongue. Okay, got it. All right. God has given us power, all power over the enemy. Okay, got it. Who's our enemy? All right. And so no weapon formed against us. Right. So all of these scriptures are starting to make more sense and how it is that I'm praying, right? So now you see what you say. So I'm teaching my children one of the biggest things. If they never know nothing else, they're gonna know. You see what you say, right? You see what you say, or you say it till you see it, right? You're gonna always position yourself to be mindful of what it is that you speak and see what it is that you want to, whatever it is that you want to see, speak it, right? And so we practice that. We make it practical by uh, say what you mean what you say. What is it that you want? Don't come here. Speak to me. Talk. If I could get you into the practice of speaking and saying what you want, then the next step is to declare it. You already know what to ask for, and just declare that, right? And so that comes with time, that comes with maturity and all of that. But it starts when they're young, because now if they're able to carry over a curse, then for sure they're able to carry over a blessing, right? And so we just gotta teach, we gotta train them up in the way that they should go, right? And when they grow old, they won't turn from it. And so, a lot of the things that I wish I had, it's not bad, like you say, because I didn't have it, I know to give it to them, you know. So we find reasons to bless God. We find reasons to create an atmosphere or an environment for them to be safe enough to try the things that we're asking them to try, right? If I could get you, I teach my sons, undisciplined children become undisciplined men, right? So we got to discipline ourselves now. How does that look? If you are doing dishes and you are to do the garbage and you only do the dishes, did you know to do the garbage? Okay, you forgot to do the garbage. Okay, let's do all the things, right? So it's the little areas that I'm critiquing them now. So now they get older, you feel me? Like they don't miss out on those types of things. And so they say the devil's in the details. I believe that when it comes to certain things, because we're so stupid that we feel that we could finesse God on principles that's
Mm.
already they're already in motion. You feel me? Like you can't live a certain kind of way and nothing happens. You reap what you sow. That's a principle, right? So you got to be mindful as to how it is that you live. You got to honor your mother and your father, so your days will be. These are principles, right? So if these principles have been in motion before us and far after us, there's nothing we could do to manipulate that or change that, right? So we got to line up. And so I'm just trying to teach them in layman's terms, practically, how does that look? How do if I teach you a principle now, by the time you get older, you read this principle, it's like, oh, I've been doing that. Yeah, that's the goal, right? So that's how we're transitioning from how they think, right? Get out of the way of get out of your own way by how you think,
Mhm.
like so as a man thinketh, so is he. So
Look, so one of the quotes you just used, one in particular, I love because when Cass say, "Look, the devil in the details," and I be like, "God is too." You know what I
right.
mean? He did.
Yeah.
He's the omnipotent one.
Yes, sir.
But when I think about this and how all these elements tie in together, right? I'm often sitting back when we speak affirmations. We also have to think about our advice. And
Mm-hmm.
so, not only the advice that we give to our children, but advice for fathers who are in the fight,
Yeah.
for fathers who feel they're struggling emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially.
Right.
What advice would you give to them to help them stay in the fight?
Uh, so man, there's so many things, man. Um, my two laws I live by: control the controllables, right, and trust the process. You know, you got to remember this is your fight. Like I can't fight the fight for you. Can't nobody fight this fight for you. This fight was tailor made for you. So you already have what it takes. So now you got to know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. What you're capable of, you control that. Control the controllables, right? Step two is trust in the process. We don't know what that looked like, right? Jacob was raised by a family. No, not Jacob, Joseph. Joseph was
Joseph.
raised by a family that sort of catered to him. And after a while, his brothers got jealous of him, put him in a pit. Um, from the pit, he was sold off to slavery. After slavery, he was put in the palace, right? I'm sure when Joseph was in the pit, he never seen himself being in the palace, right? And so we got to trust the process, meaning we gotta go through every step, right? Why? Every storm run out of rain. You feel me? Like we're not gonna be in nothing forever. Seasons change. So um, stay in the fight because you're worth it. Your life matters. Your family is counting on you. We rooting for you. We've been there. So control the controllables, trust the process, because you got it for real.
Hey, bro, you cooking now? Cause see now when you mentioned Joseph, like
Yeah.
before we get to my next question, I can't even move on without thinking about Joseph, right?
Yeah.
And his story not kind of, his story goes from his ability to interpret dreams
Yeah.
and to see with great vision, right?
Yeah.
So before I even get into that, right, I just got to shout you out, Frank, because you're perfect, right?
Man.
People say perfection doesn't exist, and
Man.
I'm a firm believer that it does,
Yes, sir.
because you can't say anything that the creator made with his hands or with his breath,
Is
however he
imperfect.
sculpted it.
Yes, sir.
So, not saying you're perfection, but you're perfect because there's only one Frank.
Right. Right. Right.
And so when we think, and it was crazy though, I played with words. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the
I'm with you.
opposite of perfect is imperfect.
Right.
If I tell you to break imperfect into two words, it
I'm
says
perfect. I'm with you,
indeed,
gang. I'm with you.
indeed.
Yeah.
So,
I
like,
like
that
this game.
leads me to the last question, brother.
Yes, sir.
Right? We talk perfection, fatherhood, nurturer,
Yeah.
empowerer, teacher,
Uh-huh.
visionary,
Yeah.
all those things and more to our family, our community.
Yeah.
Now, all of this and everything we do, and you kind of mentioned it a minute ago, what legacy do you want to leave
Uh,
when your children look back on your journey? What do you hope they say about the kind of man and father
mm,
you were?
man. I pray that uh, the legacy I leave is one of love, one that says I love you, one that says that uh, I love myself enough to change, to do the things for you, uh, one that says my love is all that I need. I don't require you to love me. I don't require them to love me. I love me enough, right? And so I pray that this legacy of love that I leave allows them to love themselves fully and also be able to love fully, right? I don't want to create heartbreakers, right? I don't want to create people that has. I don't want the legacy to roll backwards, right? I want it
Mhm.
to roll forward. And so with love, a lot of things embodies love. So you got to deal with accountability, right? You got to deal with healing. You got to deal with um, peace, right? You got to deal with perfection, right? You can't fully love anyone until you learn to love yourself, man. So I want to love them so pure that they feel all of that. You know, God is love, right? And so if I could leave them anything, I want to leave them God. So
That's a powerful picture.
yeah,
And one of the things I love is that the highest vibration in the universe is love. Love conquers
yeah,
all, and once you submit to love, you got total peace.
yeah.
Frank, so as we get ready to roll out, I want you to hit them with all of your handles,
Yeah.
how they can connect with you, how they can support you, and how they can continue this legacy. Slide to the side one time for me, bro.
You heard.
You see it. You already won. You was built for this. Frank, give them all the information so that they can stay tapped in, follow all that.
Hey, so boom. My name is Franky Bells. Franky with a Y, Bells with an S. I'm also known as Mr. B Hill, right? So you can find me everywhere under the mantra Mr. MRBBEHEALED, right? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that. It's gonna be under Mr. B Hill. You want to find this? You can find this link in my bio from Instagram, TikTok. Again, Mr. B Hill, just tap in with me. Um, if you find me, shoot me a message. Like I'm reachable. You feel me? I like to be a shepherd that smell like a sheep. You heard? So tap in with me and let's build.
Y'all heard it. How can they support you, Frank?
Man, yeah, tap in. I got my link in my bio for this right here. I'm creating a website right now. Again, so just if you need to directly tap in with me, just hit me on my IG handle or my TikTok. Tap in with the link, and that'll be able to um, allow your email to submit your email to me, so that way we could I could send you updates on what's going on with me.
Y'all heard it. What I didn't say, Frank is a proud a member of the Father's Haven, where
You
we get
heard?
down, the
Yeah,
brotherhood. So y'all
good brother,
support my
man.
guy. He's fire. Need I
Yeah,
say more?
I appreciate the opportunity, man.
All day. Philly, New York, New Jersey, everywhere across the world. Stand up.
Yeah, yeah, you know the vibes.
So I want to tell y'all thanks for listening in to another episode of the Father's Haven, where we get down for real.
Ow.
Peace, blessings, and elevation. We will bring you inspiring stories, expert insight, and practical tools and information to support you. Types in embracing our authentic self, we can pave the way for a brighter future for ourselves and our children. Empower, heal, and support fathers and men on their journey. I'm your host, Kelly Little, aka the Village King. Welcome to the Father's Haven.